back to stream 3. It is so awesome to have you back with us. We are here to wrap up stream 3, not tonight, because we still have really cool stuff after this, but we are super honored to have Dr. Matt Bergman with us tonight to wrap up stream 3. I gotta admit, I am so stoked for this one. I am huge fan of UDL. I mean, I guess like everybody says that. I don't think anybody could be anti-UDL, but I love it. And I am so excited for everything that Dr. Bergman is going to bring to us tonight. He has long been a transformative force in both K-12 and higher ed. And I don't know, can you tell I'm stoked? I'm stoked.
I think you're ready. I don't think he needs much more introduction, but he's going to dive into like Speechify, Character.AI, which cater to diverse learning needs and create more inclusive classrooms. So I'm excited. Can you just bring him in already, Christy? Let's go. Bring him in.
Okay, let's do it.
He's bringing it home for us, our last session of the day for our stream. Okay, but then we still have more for the night. So yeah, Matt, take it away. We're excited.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And it's great to be here today and just talking a little bit about UDL. I was saying a little bit earlier that my 3 kiddos are keeping me busy. It's prom season, it's graduation season, and so we are just moving and grooving here. A little bit about me. I'm a K through 12 teacher, former K through 12 teacher. So was a high school teacher, middle school teacher, and actually worked for Novak Education. My good friend Katie Novak. And so we talk about UDL all around the world, and also work at Elizabethtown College, where I'm the assessment curriculum coordinator, and love talking about assessment in UDL and this new concept of AI. So I've been all over the world talking about two of my most passionate things, and that is AI and UDL. And so what I'd like to do to start off here is I'd sort of like to get an understanding of what exactly you know already about UDL. And I'm just going to give you this Google form. So if you want to scan your mobile device, or I'm going to just throw in the chat here, this link. Love to see what exactly you know about this concept of what UDL is all about. Now, as you're going through and you're doing that, I just want to share with you, I have a blog called Learn, Lead, Grow. I'll share that at the very end. But one of the things that I love doing on that blog is sharing all about universal design for learning and how it can impact students for the better, making things more accessible, flexible, and engaging. So let's check out this Google form here, and let's see how you did. And I actually am going to move you over just a tad because my camera was going berserk, so I have to use my laptop camera instead. So let's see how we're doing here response-wise. And as you're going through, I want you to rate your comfort level with AI, and then your favorite AI tool. Sorry about that. I put down, what do you know about UDL? And I'm actually asking you for your comfort level of AI. So my apologies. So as you're going through and doing that, I'm going to actually talk a little briefly about what UDL is all about. So UDL is based on 3 principles, right? And so I'm going to share with you these 3 big ideas about using AI in the classroom. We're going to look at access, we're going to look at motivation, and we're going to look at persistence. These align with the 3 principles of UDL. So we'll share more about that here in just a moment. So when we're talking about this idea of access, what that's all about is it's all about how can you provide learners with access to learning. So as you're getting to know some of these AI tools here, you're starting to see that, well, you know what? You're starting to feel very cozy with what UDL and AI are able to do in the classroom. Some of us are riding it like a pro surfer, but we have to also realize that many of our classmates or peers are actually, well, they're not feeling the same way. So it's really important to realize that. And check this out. So a current favorite tool, you got School AI. Lately, it's student-facing chatbots. Excellent. Curipod, School AI, one of my favorites, Magic School AI, Quizzes, and Yuja. All right. So very good. So thank you so much. Keep that coming, because I would love to know some of the other tools that you know about that I don't. I'm constantly learning about this as well. So let's talk about this whole idea of access. And when we're talking about access and making things more accessible, it's really important to realize that when instructional materials are not accessible, it creates unintentional barriers. So imagine we had this article right here, and this article is on the Galapagos Islands. Well, there might be some barriers associated with this particular article. It could be the vocabulary. Even look at the font, the way that it's designed. There's all sorts of different barriers associated with this particular tool. Now, there's some things that we could do to create access. And one of the things we could do is we could use this tool called Diffit, right? So maybe you've seen Diffit before, where you can take that article and you can actually pop it in here and you can adjust not only the grade level. So if we wanted to do that, we could also go in and translate it as well and build different materials. That's one way that we could make it a little bit more accessible, right? So that's actually one thing that we could possibly do with this. But what are some other things that we could do to make this more accessible for our students to be able to read the article? Let's say that our goal is for students to read the same article in the class. We don't want to give a 6th grade reading level version. We don't want to differentiate like that. We could use a tool like Speechify. Now, what Speechify is it's a text-to-speech tool that you can use. It's free and it's also paid, and it has a Chrome extension as well. So let's check this particular tool out. So let's imagine that we had to read this article right here. What we could do is we could actually turn this tool on, and we can have it read for us. And not only can we have it read for us by AI, but we could have Snoop Dogg reading it for us, right? You got to love Snoop. So here we go. We got to So this is not only something that you could do with Google Docs, but say, for instance, you have a PDF and you have this PDF that you're giving students that maybe you don't want to sit there and try to read yourself. Maybe some of the tools that you're using for text to speech aren't necessarily working really well. You can upload this to a private library and then have it read to you. But it doesn't just stop there. Another thing that's really helpful is that, well, let's say, for instance, we're going through and we want to actually read, say, some field notes. And this is from Rollo Beck, who actually went to the Galapagos Islands in 1905. And we know that many of our students might struggle with cursive. Another document that I've pulled up in the past is the Declaration of Independence, right? So what if we wanted this article to be read in the cursive? It can do that. So I can actually open up Speechify right here. And as I open up Speechify, then I can take a picture of this slide right here. So I can just go right over here. I'm just going to read this particular section. And now what it's going to do is, and so it's going to read an image. Amazing, like amazing. And so this is some type of, it's a technology that is really changing the way that we can help students access learning materials, right? But what if we wanted to help students sort of understand all of the different types of tools and all the different types of species and all of the different land masses and landforms and plants that are on the Galapagos Islands? We could use Copilot to do exactly the same thing. Now, brain science tells us that we need multiple representations of things in order to understand. And so going into Copilot, Microsoft's tool, you can use the designer feature here to write a prompt. And as we know, as being very comfortable with AI, that the more information you give the prompt, the better, right? And so we might have to experiment with this, but what I love about Copilot is that it gives you 4 different versions of this particular image that we could use. So I can type in my prompt right here. And when I did type in my prompt, this is actually what it created for me, which is amazing. So you have all of these different types of species. It gave me 4 different versions of this, but it helps give students a visual, because sometimes just reading it doesn't necessarily make sense, but having a visual, that really helps as well. So we've talked about access. And so access is something that I think is really, really important and really something that's helpful to our students. But, sometimes we need to think about motivation, right? And so motivation, meaning how can you inspire your learners through choice? Like, how can you actually provide them with some voice and choice? Research has shown that the sweet spot of choice is between 2 and 4 different options. Anything more than that, we sort of get into this paralysis by analysis type of mindset. So AI has the power of creating voice and choice in the classroom. So let's imagine that we have this particular essay that we have to do right here, right? And so one of the things that we realize with this Who Made a Difference historical essay is that all learners learn differently and they all take different paths to be successful. Now, I like to say that there's 2 different types of choice in the classroom. There's flexibility in the product, or there's flexibility in the process. What flexibility in the product means is that we can produce, many different products in showing demonstrating our understanding. So that's what I'm going to share with you here in this particular example. So we have this right here, Who Made a Difference, and we could take this particular idea and we could make it into a choice board. Now, many of you had mentioned that Magic School AI is one of your favorite tools right here, and it's becoming one of my favorite tools as well, because not only does it have the teacher version, but it also has the student version with chatbots and some different tools that can help enhance student learning. And the beauty is that as a teacher, you can turn things on and off in your classroom. So that's, I think, extremely helpful. So that's the Magic Student piece. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually show you how you can create a choice board. And here's the choice board example. And what I can then do with my example right here is I can actually say, okay, I want to create a choice board. And I want to create a choice board with all of these different options. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, you know what? I have an 8th grade class and my learning goal is basically this. And I can give it some more information as well. And what it's going to do is it's going to generate a 3-option choice board here for this historical hero choice board. So it has the essay, the presentation piece, and also has the museum piece. Now, if you're using the free version of this tool, you know that you're a little limited on the questions you can ask it. So what I like to do is I like to use other tools like Gemini, where I can ask it even further questions and even refine it a little bit more if I don't have the paid version of Magic School AI. So as we're going through, we're putting together this choice board and we're saying, that's one really important feature of motivating students. But another thing that's extremely important is also helping students get feedback, right? So creating feedback mechanisms is so important. So maybe you're familiar with this, maybe you're not, but you could use a tool like Gemini where you could say, hey, you know what? Create a rubric for this assignment. And so I'm going to take that same exact assignment that I just did here, and I'm just going to throw it in the chat. And what it's going to do is it's going to actually give me not only the options that I asked it earlier, but it's also going to give me a rubric. I love this because you have some different options for working with this rubric, because you can go right down here and you can basically export it to Google Sheets, or you can go down here as you can share it and you can export it to Docs. So if you're concerned about formatting, stick with Docs. If you're not so concerned about formatting and you want to maybe fiddle around with some stuff, I would use the Sheets option as well. So either one is really great. So now we've put together this idea of a rubric for this assignment. So we've got a couple options for our students. We put together an assignment. Now students put together their essay, right? Or they put together their presentation. So let's imagine that we have this student right here who put together this Harriet Tubman essay. And one of the things as a teacher that's been really frustrating for me is that there's just not enough time in the day to provide students with feedback and not enough time to provide them with, really helpful feedback sometimes, because you might be grading 120 different papers at the same time. So differentiating your feedback can be really helpful. So using video feedback, using canned responses, there's a canned response Google Chrome extension that you could use. Even audio type of feedback is really helpful as well. But I want to share with you a tool that is amazing, and it's actually we're helped sponsored by this tool, and that's Brisk, right? So you're going to learn more about Brisk a little bit later, but I want to share with you two cool features on this that I think you'll find really helpful. The first is that we want to inspect this writing. Now, AI detectors, they catch bad cheating. Let's just face it, they catch bad cheating. They're not an all-in one-size-fits-all solution that's going to catch every single student that's using AI. I think we got to be responsible in how we teach students to use AI and teach them that it's a tool, right? But a tool like this in Brisk is amazing because you can actually watch this Google Doc being constructed. So at 4:13 p.m. on April 27th, this is what the document looked like, one giant paste, right? And then what we have here is we have, okay, what did it look like at other points along the way? Well, a couple minutes later, this is what it looks like. So this is a great tool to have the conversation with the student. Hey, look, I'm thinking that there might be some plagiarism going on here. There might be some AI use here. Let's talk about this. And so that's a great mechanism. There's also an AI detector on here as well. So you could actually go right here and you could say, okay, yes, there is a high likelihood that there is some AI being used. But here's the other cool feature is remember that rubric we talked about earlier? Well, now what I can do is I can give feedback by uploading my rubric that I created. So I can upload this particular rubric. So let's imagine that this is my rubric right here. I just go ahead and I download it. And then what I do is I go right on in to my document, okay, the Harriet Tubman essay, and I go in and I say, okay, I'm going to actually give feedback. I'm going to upload this rubric. I can even select certain academic standards as well if I want. And then it's going to Brisk it. It's going to take a look at this particular essay here, and it's going to give me some feedback that I can then give my students. And check this out. It actually does a great job of providing some different types of feedback that I can then use in providing them with just help improve their writing, right? And so I can customize this. If I don't like this, I can add other things, and then I can insert this, and voila, it's inserted as something that could be extremely helpful to my students. So we talked about creating a choice board. We talked about giving them different options and then giving feedback. When you look at research from Hattie did some research in 2009. He did a meta-analysis on effective types of teaching practices. Clarity and feedback were one of the top best teaching practices out there and had the most impact on student learning. So when we can give better feedback, that's huge. Here's another thing that's really helpful too. It's Adobe Express. Maybe you're familiar with Adobe Express. It's a free tool in K through 12 education, and it allows you to do amazing things like this. So this is from Martha Bajornio, and she actually put together this amazing presentation a few Saturdays ago, and I want to give her props because she did this thing called a remix, right? And so what we did is we took this object right here, and we shared it with the entire group. And then she said, okay, now what you want to do is you want to customize it, make it something of your own, remix this object. So what I did is I said, I want to create a fusion of a turtle and a sunflower and let Adobe Express kind of do its thing. And voila, it gave me some different options right here that are amazing. This could be great for a writing activity where you might do like a 6-word essay. You might even want to make it come to life and other ways as well. She also shared this amazing tip, and that was creating a visual essay with Adobe Express as well. And you could create something like this by using this amazing tool. I mean, isn't this a great way of helping students understand the process of cell membranes? Maybe a lot better than maybe just writing a paper. So this is giving us some different options and some different resources to help students demonstrate their understanding and unleash their creativity, which is so, so important. So let's give you the last bucket, and that is persistence. So we've talked about access, being able to actually engage in learning. We've talked about motivation, actually being able to show what we know. But the other part that's so important is that we need to help students persist when things get challenging, right? So learning is such an emotional type of act, right? Teaching is such an emotional type of act, because at the end of the day, sometimes we are just beat and we think, I didn't do anything today. But we expend so much emotional energy, especially when learning gets difficult or there's challenging situations in our classroom. So how can we leverage the power of AI to help persist when learning gets tough? So what I want to just share before we segue into some different tools is that one helpful thing that we can do is we can look at providing students with different scaffolds and supports. I have an acronym that I love using whenever I'm planning a presentation or a lesson, and it's called POP, right? It's predict high probability barriers. Look for ways to overcome those obstacles with flexible materials like scaffolds and supports, and then plan, the last P, right? And so scaffolds and supports can be really helpful. And so that's what I'm going to share with you, some ways that you can use AI to be a really helpful tool. So let's imagine that we're reading this particular text, right? And so J.D. Salinger wrote The Catcher in the Rye, and it's a very controversial book, but it also is written in a unique way. When you look at the text, you can see that, well, he doesn't necessarily write sometimes like we would consider an author to write, where there's a paragraph here, a paragraph here. He actually has long paragraphs that go pages and pages. And so that can be something that can be very difficult for a student to possibly navigate, especially if they have reading comprehension and reading fluency issues. So what could we do if we were, say, well, maybe looking at this particular piece of text and we wanted to break it down and look at imagery? So what I could do is I could actually take this text, right? So I'm going to go to The Catcher in the Rye, okay? And so I'm going to go right over here, and I'm going to take this text, and I'm going to say in Copilot, I'm going to say, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you actually, in Copilot here, take this text, and can you actually break this down into a table? And one thing we have to realize is that there is a character limit on many of these tools. So keep that in mind so that it's really important. Yeah, the person, says the F word more than I do. Absolutely. It is a very, very controversial book for sure because of the language, because of some of the themes. Now, sometimes what happens with Copilot is it takes a little bit to put together something. And so I actually put together this example for us to look for different examples of imagery in the text. If I even wanted to break this down further in other ways, I could absolutely do it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, like, let's say, for instance, we wanted students to understand the imagery from the text, right? And there's all sorts of examples, from the Museum of Natural History to marbles bouncing to his red hat that he wore all the time. And so let's say, for instance, we have a project where students have to talk about imagery. Well, one thing we could do is we could help them by scaffolding instruction by using a tool called MyLens. Not sure if you've ever seen MyLens before, but it's a great tool here that you can develop a timeline, a mind map, or a quadrant. And let me share with you what that would actually look like. So I could do key events in The Catcher in the Rye. And when I go with key events in The Catcher in the Rye, check this out. This is really neat. It actually breaks things down, and I can share this with my students. But I also thought, you know what? Imagery. Like, what are some examples of imagery in this text? And it actually broke things down for me by different chapters. The other thing that I could do is I could actually take that idea of imagery and have it put together this mind map. This is a great way to help students maybe brainstorm some ideas that they're going to take and they're going to write about, they're going to present about. It's an amazing tool. The quadrant feature actually just came out, and so you should check it out. Now, with with this MyLens tool, just realize that you can use it 3 times a day. That's for the free version. So keep that in mind as you're using this. But what's beautiful about it is that you can share this via link, and you can also share it as a JPEG. So that's a great way to help students. And let's say, for instance, we wanted to maybe talk to Holden, get some more information from Holden about this idea of imagery and the text. Well, you can even go and use Character.AI, something I think we're all very familiar with, and you can talk to him. But, you know, just like you were saying, he uses the F word probably more than you've ever done in your lifetime. Well, in this particular Character.AI chatbot, he's using the same language too. So we do have to be somewhat, concerned about that if we're working with children. But keep that in mind as you are maybe using it for other examples as well. The last thing I want to share with you is, let's imagine that we're putting together an essay on this idea of imagery. Chat GPT and other tools like it, like Copilot, Gemini, and other tools as well, have the ability to give us feedback on our writing. So I can take this particular article right here, and I could actually pop it into Chat GPT, and I could say, hey, could you actually talk to me a little bit about some of the things that I'm doing well and some of the things that I need to improve on in my essay? So this is just a great way that we can use a tool for helping us diagnose different types of problems, different types of things that we need to improve on in our own writing. So just kind of taking you back of where we've been up to this point. We've talked about a lot of different things here today. And we said, there are 3 different ideas that I shared: this idea of access, this idea of motivation, and this idea of persistence. And when we're talking about access, we're talking about, hey, how can we give students the keys to learning? And we shared with you some different examples on how to do that through Diffit, Speechify, and also Copilot. Then we went into motivation, and we said, okay, how can you motivate your learners through voice and choice? We said, there's great ways of using choice boards, and even a tool like Brisk AI to help give powerful feedback, because feedback is so powerful. And last but not least, we said, persistence. What can we do to help students when learning gets tough? We can often look at different scaffolds and supports that we might have in place through something as simple as breaking text down with Copilot, or even just doing something as simple as saying, hey, can you make a graphic for me? Can you break things down for me? Because I might need some extra ideas. And even giving me feedback to help me improve as a learner. So I want to thank you so much for being here today. It's been a pleasure working with you. I have my contact information right here. I'm also going to do this. I'm going to actually share with you the slide deck, just in case you'd like it. And like I said, my contact information is up at the top of the screen there. And I have a blog, like I mentioned, called Learn, Lead, Grow. Also have a YouTube channel and on Twitter. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Love to connect with you. So thank you so much. And I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bergman. I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed that session. It was phenomenal. And your insights into UDL and AI are so valuable for fostering accessibility and engaging learning environments. And it was just really inspiring. And I appreciate how you work AI into supporting every student's individual learning journey.
Yeah, I know my biggest takeaway was when you said what voice and choice, I believe. I think that just voice of choice. I say it every day and anytime I do PD. So love that. Thanks for sharing. And it's clear that AI can be a game changer in education. And I loved your energy, loved your presentation. Absolutely a great job.
Thank you.
And thank you guys all for joining us today for Stream 3. Don't forget, this is not the end. We still have a really cool session after this. I would like to point out that we've got workshops coming up on Saturday for a deeper dive into some really cool AI tools.
And don't remember, Friday's Masked Singer event is a must-see because Christy will be singing. I'm singing every day on the team so that on Friday she just ends up singing. It's a separate registration, so sadly it won't be recorded, so make sure you guys register because I want to see you guys there, and you guys want to see hear Christy singing.
I mean, a little birdie told me that Farmer Fobbs was doing Brittany, so I'm gearing up for that. Like,
Hey, I got this.
Yeah. We are so excited to have been able to share this journey with you guys today, and learning's not over yet because, like I said, we've got a whole another session. So head on over to your conference chat, snag the link for that brisk teaching sesh so that you can keep exploring, keep learning, and you've got a little, intro to brisk right here in this amazing session. And let's all go make education brighter together.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the Premium AI Strategy Accelerator, the ultimate program for schools, colleges and universities and businesses that want to lead in the AI revolution. Before you apply, let me tell you how this program works. Who is this program for? We focus on helping a hand-picked team of 6 to 10 change makers in your organization. And this elite innovation squad will become your internal startup, pioneering AI-driven solutions that define your organization's future.